Hey, the lone top tens here. The United States is a country thanks to one of the most well-known conflicts in history, the American Revolution. Yet the United States continued to be involved in military matters at home and abroad for centuries to come, many of which aren't taught at all in American schools. So here are the 10 lesser-known U.S. conflicts. Now, some of this will be talking about war, so obviously, if your children ain't allowed to talk about war-related things, parents, your discretion's advised with those children who are watching this video that ain't supposed to be known about war. Alright, we go on to number 10 with the Fiji expeditions. So, there are two Fiji expeditions. The first in 1855 and the second in 1859. The first expedition responded to damages on American property that occurred during the Fijian Civil War. A U.S. warship with a detachment of Marines was sent to obtain compensation from Siru Kakabel, the self-proclaimed king of Fiji. When Kakabel couldn't pay, troops clashed with native warriors and successfully routed him. The second expedition was ordered after 2 American traders were killed and cannibalized by natives on the Fijian island of Wela. A force of 10 Marines and 40 sailors were dispatched, armed with carbines and swords, as well as one 12-pounder howitzer cannon. The plan was to attack the mountain village of Samadi, forcing the natives into combat. The commander of the expedition, L.T. Caldwell, wrote in his journal it was a novel undertaken to assault and destroy a mountain tribe in their stronghold with a party of seamen. The journey up the mountain proved more treacherous than the group had anticipated, and they were forced to abandon the howitzer. Once they reached the village, they found the natives waiting for them ready to fight. A pitched battle ensued in which the expeditionary forces successfully defeated a force of nearly 300 Wayan warriors, mostly armed with clubs and bows, in what became known as the Battle of Samadi. There you go, you learned something new today. Number 9. Barbary Wars. The Barbary Wars occurred in the early 1800s and was fought between the United States and what was referred to as the Barbary States. These were the northern African Muslim states and cities such as Tripoli in Libya and Algiers in Algeria, which were technically under control of the Ottomans, but acted relatively anonymously. Problems arose when pirates from these areas began to attack U.S. merchant ships and demanded tribute from the United States in exchange for safe passage. Following the American Revolution, the United States did not have the Navy presence or the funds necessary to raise a naval capable of repelling the pirates, so instead they paid tribute. However, these payments only encouraged the pirates to capture more American ships, taking their crews hostage. Things changed when, under the presidencies of James Madison and Thomas Jefferson, the United States refused to pay. By this point, the U.S. Navy was more capable of fighting force, and naval fleets were sent into the Mediterranean to fight the pirates and protect American merchant ships. The operations were successful, and the threat of piracy was greatly reduced. We go on to number 8 with the Moro Rebellion. In the wake of the Spanish-American War, the Spanish ceded the Philippines to the United States in 1899. Most Filipinos were not happy about occupation, and several armed conflicts broke out. In the southern Philippines, one group known as the Moros was particularly troublesome. The Moros were Muslim Filipinos who had a long history of resisting imperialism. The Americans tried to assimilate them and put an end to some moral practices they saw as unacceptable, such as slavery. The Moros openly resisted, and from 1901 to 1913, the Moro Rebellion raged. They often fortified mountains and volcanoes and were prone to launch berserker-type attacks. The rebellion officially ended in 1913 after a particularly bloody battle known as the Battle of Bud Bagsak, in which the American troops killed all 500 Moros defending the mountain of Bagsak. Brigadier General John Pershing, the commander of the U.S. troops, described the Battle of Bud Bagsak, saying, "The fight was the fiercest I have ever seen. They, Moros, are absolutely fearless, and once committed to combat, they count death as a mere incident." True fact. Number 7. The Korean Expedition. In 1871, a U.S. Navy squadron was sent to Korea to establish trade relations and investigate the fate of the American ship General Sherman. The General Sherman was a merchant ship conducted its business in Korea. In 1866, after accidentally grounded, it was attacked by the Koreans, and its crew was massacred. The naval squadron was subsequently fired upon by a Korean fort for unknown reasons. The United States demanded an apology within 10 days, and when none came, an assault was launched. The Koreans had several forts and shoreline batteries along the Gangwon Strait that proved to be easy targets for the attacking force. So the naval shelled and assaulted these fortifications, taking them with relative ease due to the outdated weaponry of the Koreans. The largest battle took place on June 10th, when U.S. troops attacked and captured the Gangwon Citadel. Close-quarter fighting ensued, leaving hundreds of Koreans dead. The U.S. troops left, and by 1882, friendly relations were opened once again. Alright, number 6. The invasion of Grenada. In 1983, a communist coup took place on the Caribbean island nation of Grenada. The coup was supported by Cuba, who sent troops to help take control of the country. In the wake of the power struggle, the new communist government suspended civil rights and began to take political prisoners. The Reagan administration, opposed to the spread of communism and concerned for the safety of 600 medical students in the country, launched a military intervention. Several Rangers, Naval SEALs, and Marines were quickly deployed to take control of the island. In total, about 6,000 troops were involved. The communist resistance was defeated in a matter of days, and Grenada returned to democratic elections back in 1984. And I want to say a true fact, my pops was actually, and my grandpa was actually involved in the invasion of Grenada. Alright, he's still alive today, obviously. Number 5, the Quezon War. During the American Revolutionary War, the French monarchy loaned large sums of money to the Americans to fight the British, with the understanding that the Americans would slowly pay it back over time. However, in 1794, the French monarchy was toppled by the French Revolution, and the American government stopped the payments. Angered by this, the new French Republic began attacking and capturing U.S. merchant ships. In 1798, after attempts at negotiation failed, the United States deployed its navy to combat the French threat, thus beginning the Quezon War. For the next 2 years, the two nations battled each other on the high seas throughout the Atlantic and the Caribbean. Hostiles concluded in 1800 with the signing of the Convention of 1800. Number 4. The Battle of Ambos Nogalias. In the early 20th century, tensions were high at the Mexican-U.S. border. Skirmishes between U.S. troops and Mexican bandits and Mexican troops had led to an increased military presence on the border. The publication of the Zimmerman Telegraph, a proposed alliance between Germany and Mexico, only served to heighten American anxieties. Things boiled over on August 27, 1918, when a dispute between Mexican and U.S. custom agents broke into an all-out battle in the town of Nogales in Arizona, right on the border with both U.S. and Mexican residents. The fight was chaotic, but ended only hours later when a ceasefire was called by the two governments. Many people on both sides died or were wounded in the battle. Number 3. The Somalian Civil Wars. Between 1886 and 1889, the islands of Somalia and the Pacific Ocean were locked in a series of civil wars over who was to be a king. The United States, Britain, and Germany had all vested interests in Somalia for commercial and territorial reasons, and became involved in the conflict, each sending several warships over there. This resulted in a naval standoff over who had control of the islands, for years known as the Somalian Crisis. Not Somalia, Somalia. During the Second Somalian Civil War, the United States and Britain fought alongside Somalian troops against German-backed Somalian rebels, who wished to make Mataafa Holisifo their king. After a series of battles and skirmishes, the United States, Britain, and Germany came to agreement in 1899, known as the Tripartite Convention, in which they abolished the Somalian monarchy. Now, Somali was subsequently divided, with the Eastern Islands becoming U.S. territory and the Western Islands becoming a German colony. Now, just remember, guys, the tripartite was also used back in 1940 when the Axis powers was first formed. Just want to let you know, this is before 1940. Delicious. Number 2, the Utah War. Since the founding of Mormonism in 1830, the group often found itself in conflict with the United States government. In 1847, after a series of particularly violent episodes in Missouri and Illinois, many Mormons, under the direction of their leader, Brigham Young, began to move west. Actually, that's west. In hopes that isolation would secure their religious freedom. Thousands settled in what is today Utah. In 1850, Congress created the Utah Territory and appointed Brigham Young as its first governor. In 1857, newly elected President James Buchanan, which is also known as one of the worst presidents, found the power Young had over the Mormons unsettling and ordered his removal from office. Now, afraid of resistance, he sent 2,500 troops to the territory to ease the transition. However, this only increased tensions. In response, Young raised a sizable militia and began to terrorize the U.S. troops by burning their supplies and stealing their cattle. Open conflict between the two sides almost broke out several times. However, the war ended in 1858 after Buchanan and Young agreed to terms of peace. Pretty nice. We finally go on to number 1 with the Battle of Negro Fort. During the early 19th century, an old British fort on the frontier of northern Spanish Florida became a place of refuge for black freemen and escaped slaves. The fort, which became known as Negro Fort, and the area around it, was home to nearly 800 black men, women, and children. Many Americans, including President Andrew Jackson, saw this escaped slave colony as a threat to the very institution of slavery. On July 17, 1816, the garrison of the fort ambushed an American gunboat in the area, killing all but one of its crew. After hearing this, Jackson ordered the fort to be destroyed. Before the battle even began, the American general in command called for the fort and its inhabitants to surrender. The freedmen refused, finding it better to fight and die than return to slavery. The red flag signaling that no quarter shall be given was raised above the fort, and the battle began on July 27th. Despite the bravery of the defendants, the battle ended quickly when shot from a naval gunboat hit the fort's powder storage, causing a massive explosion. This killed almost everyone on the fort and officially ended the battle. In this report, the American commander Colonel Clinch wrote, "The explosion was awful, and the scene horrible beyond description." Alright guys, that is it. If you have any other conflicts I did not mention in this video, just let me know in the comments down below. Alright, that is it for right now. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and, as of course, support me on Patreon. View the link in the description down below. Alright, that is all guys. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Take care.